Hello. Alright, so. Alright, so gonna continue Seduce Me to the Demon War. We're doing. Yeah, Eric's right. That just says in town the stream. I almost forgot. Hi, how are you? Alright, before I get started, I need to make sure I click on one of these right orb things here to make sure it is Erik. Let's see. Red orb. And then we have, then after Erik will be Damien, which I'm guessing that his is this one right here. And I'm looking at this screen because that's where the game is. So yeah, red orb.
Hold on there! Before you start the game, I need to ask you a few things. Don't want you getting lost now.
And how's the volume for the game, by the way?
First of all, have you read the first story, Seduce Me the Otome? Like, seriously read it. No skimming, no pretending to read it. No. It's okay if you haven't, but there are a lot of things in this game that you won't understand unless you fully experienced and understood that story first.
So yeah, don't mind me looking at this screen because that's where the game is on this monitor. And I have OBS on this monitor in front of me, so don't mind me.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Next question. You do know this is Erik's route, right? You know, the second oldest incubus that calls you princess and is seductive and stuff.
Yes. I know.
Oh, awesome! All right then. Erik's a nice guy once you see under his Playboy mask. Anyway, I have one last question for you. Some people like hearing the trigger warnings before they start games, while others don't really care and just want to play. It's cool either way, but do you want to know about some of the content listed in the game?
Nah, I'm good.
All right then. Oh, just so you know, though, anytime you have the choice to have sex, you can totally say no and still get the good endings. Consent is very important, regardless of who you are. I think that should be everything. All right. Phew, that took a while.
Hi, Diana.
You forgot something.
Huh? What did I forget?
You forgot about the disclaimer.
Oh, crap! Oh, how could I have forgotten about that?
It's fine, I'll take care of it. This game was produced by Michaela Laws using the Ren'Py visual novel engine. We truly hope you enjoy this story.
Thanks, Diana. Now, don't you have a war to go fight?
Yeah, don't you have a war to fight?
I do. I just wanted to make sure everything was in order before the story began. I'll take my leave now.
Thanks, Di.
Do not call me Di.
Anyway, we really do hope you like the story. Have fun! See you at the end.
Alright. A sweet lullaby one you would hear you as you were rocked in your mother's arms as a child. I could not help but adore such melodies with every ounce of my being, smiling whenever one would play for me. It was only fitting that I would enjoy my dreams with the sound of one playing it in my head. My slumber was calm and peaceful as a sweet, soft tune echoed in the abyss of my subconsciousness. I didn't know why, but I relished that time that night. Relished that tune that night. Ugh, I can't read. Strange, really, how a melody could calm my storm running through your heart. My storm was my engagement to Erik, my demon soulmate. Yes, he was my soulmate, my prince. At the same time, he was indeed a demon. I adored him with every ounce of my being, and I was about to be married to him in the weeks ahead. I couldn't have been more nervous and excited about the whole ordeal. Still, the lullaby that floated in my dreams kept me calm and at peace. I wondered if the same music could soothe an actual child. Okay. A child's laughter broke me from my peace, causing me to slowly open my eyes and awaken my slumber. My eyes focused on the ceiling. I tried to figure out what the sound was. Was it part of my dream? It was effective, even enough to wake me up. I rose from the bed, looking around the room in confusion. Why had I heard the child's laugh, and how did it wake me up? That's confusing. It was strange to say the very least. The child's voice, however, before I could contemplate about it further, a slight dip in the bed to my side made me gasp softly in surprise. I looked to my side to see Erik still sound asleep beside me. He looked so peaceful and happy, like he was absorbed in joyful dream of his own. I couldn't help but smile at the sight before leaning down and kissing his forehead. He shifted slightly, mumbling my name. I giggled softly. He was just too adorable for words. I truly loved him with all of my heart. I love you. Still, despite wanting to stay in bed a little longer with the man of my dreams, the child's laughter ushered me to slowly creep out of bed and leave the room to find where it had come from. Wonder what that really was. Turning on the lights in the lobby, I looked around the main part of the mansion to find where the laughter had come from. Who is that? I heard the laughter trail off as if the voice itself was moving and guiding me to where it wanted me to go. I maintained pursuit, not wanting to lose track of it. Any normal person would have been creeped out. I, however, was brave enough to figure out what was going on by myself. I was led to my grandfather's office. It was his place of work as well as his sanctuary for his magic study. I knew that he studied magic and had come to accept it during my time with Erik and his brother. Still, it was something I was curious about. The lights were on, but the laughter seemed to have faded away as I entered the room. Was I not in the right place? As I stepped further into the room, I felt a sense of nostalgia, despite only ever finding the room after my grandfather's passing. Something about this place made me feel warm and happy that I belonged here, like I belonged here. This was where my grandfather's blah. This is where my grandfather imagined his greatest toys and made them come to life. It was here where he studied endlessly about the demon world and demon magic. I felt like I was stepping into a museum of history. Thinking about it, I began to wonder what my grandfather would think if he knew that I was going to marry one of the incubi he had brought to the human world. I knew he had been the one to do it. Damien confessed to me when Erik proposed. It was a bit interesting to think about how he would have reacted. Would he be proud? Would he be disappointed? I could never know. I was broken out in my thoughts, however, as I heard the click of a lock unlatching echo through the room. I turned my head towards the sound, pitting the origin of it on one of the nearby drawers. Why did it unlock on its own? I was a little nervous as to why it had done that. I was indeed my grandfather's granddaughter, I felt my curiosity take control of my body and guide me to the drawer. Sliding it open, I saw two books neatly placed in the drawer, covered with a thin layer of dust. One was obviously my grandfather's magic book, and the other must have been his journal. I lifted up and examined them gingerly, wiping the dust off of them. I wanted to read a bit more about each of them, but I wasn't sure which one to open first. I decided to look through grandfather's journal. Maybe he had something he wanted to show me. I wasn't entirely sure why I was doing this in the first place. I opened his journal and scanned my eyes across each page I flipped through. He had so many notes it was hard to fathom him knowing so much about everything he wrote. He was smart though, so it wasn't entirely surprising. One section, however, made me stop and read in depth. Demon children. Okay. On the page was a badly drawn sketch of a humanoid creature I had to assume was demon. From the size, it could have been a child, however, I wasn't entirely sure. Apparently, there were multiple demon races, not just incubi and succubi. There were hundreds, if not thousands, of different demon types, and each had their own methods on how they reproduce children. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Demons of Lilith were the most human-like in terms of pregnancy. They bared the child for a set amount of time, and the delivery paired with magic was seamless and painless. However, as soon as a demon is born, the parents imbue their child's demon name into their souls. It seemed so confusing at first glance, but as I read further, I became more and more intrigued about demons and their children. Demons' mothers, regardless of race, had to bear enough energy for both the mother and the child. This, along with a host of other reasons, were why females were the dominant gender in the Abyssal Plains. Interesting. However, if a demon bearing a child didn't have enough energy, her child would absorb the last of it and kill of the mother in an attempt to sustain itself. Yikes! I swallowed thickly. Was energy that important to demons? How could a child even do that to their mother? They'd die off too? What? Huh. One thing was the I can't pronounce that, mentioned. However, unlike humans, demons form souls in the womb, making them living beings while still forming in their mother's body. They become, I can't pronounce that, as soon as they were conceived. It was strange to think about. Demon babies were aware that they were alive before they were born. It was intriguing. The heck is that laugh? The child's laughter reappeared, softly floating through the air and making me turn towards the door. I quickly followed it, leaving the room and returning to the lobby. Is anyone there? As I turned to the stairs, I could hardly believe my eyes. A floating orb... What? A floating orb barely the size of my head was floating down the stairs and towards the back doors. I gripped the railing and stared, not believing what I was seeing. What was this really happening? What was it even? A ghost? A spirit? Some illusion meant to trick me. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Still, it practically called for me to tail behind it. I continued to follow it. It seemed to want me to anyway. Was this a game? Hello? Who are you? It led me to the backyard, where it simply floated in the air near the gazebo. I stayed by the doorway, unsure of actually stepping out of the house to meet with it. It didn't move, so I could only assume it accepted my hesitation. Hello?
Hi.
Hi? The orb gently spun around itself in a circle, almost like a happy child. For some reason, it made me feel really happy seeing it, despite it being a simple floating orb. It seemed friendly enough, so I stepped out into the backyard and slowly made my way towards it. It gently bobbed up and down as if it was waiting for me to approach. I stopped a couple of feet away from it, not wanting to get too close in case it was a trick. Right? Hi there?
Hi. What's your name?
My name? Oh, it's Laura.
Wow, that's a pretty name.
Thank you. Who are you?
Oh, I'm no one. I don't have a name.
You don't have a name?
No, I wasn't able to get one. But that's okay. I'll get one soon.
Oh. The orb, whatever it was, had to be the spirit of some child, human I didn't know. I wasn't sure. All I knew was how sweet and innocent it sounded. The child's voice was pulling at my heartstrings in all the right ways. The orb twirled around again with a small laugh.
Let's play together.
Oh, what would we play? I almost couldn't believe the words coming out of my mouth. Was I really okay with playing games with the spirit? I wouldn't. It was friendly, yes, but it was a spirit. What I was doing out in the what I was doing out in the middle of the night with it was another question. I let go of and faded away in my head as I stared at the orb. My heart felt fuzzy and warm enough to ignore the doubt niggling in my I can't pronounce that at my brain. I would just turn around and walk away. The orb dipped and spun around my body, making me giggle and try to follow it. As it circled back to where it used to be, it almost bounced up in the air happily.
Come on, let's dance.
Okay. I began to dance around the orb as it moved gracefully around my form. In my head, a song began to play as I had fun waving and swaying it with the orb. I felt light and happy, even though part of my mind was questioning what I was doing. Why was I doing this? Why was I so blah? Why was I so accepting of this spirit? My body was moving on its own, but I was enjoying every minute of it. The orb followed along, matching each sway with one of its own. Soft laughter echoed from it once in a while after every couple of steps I took. It seemed to enjoy my company, which in turn somehow made me happy.
Princess?
Hi, Erik. I'm so confused at this. The orb gasped and hid behind me as I stopped dancing. I turned quickly to see Erik standing by the doorway with a confused but tired look on his face. Erik!
What are you doing out here, love?
Am I the only one who sees the orb? I blushed, rubbing my hands together behind my back from embarrassment. I must have looked like a fool dancing in the yard in the middle of the night. I turned my head to look at the orb, but gasped in surprise when I realized I had disappeared. Huh?
What's wrong?
What the hell? I was beyond lost and confused. What was happening? What had just happened? Yeah, what the hell just happened? I turned back to Erik to see him walking towards me. I crossed my arms, realizing how cold the night air was, and smiled meekly at Erik. I just wanted some fresh air, that's all.
While dancing by yourself?
I stared at Erik, not sure of what he meant. If he was watching, he would have seen the spirit dancing with me. Did he not see that spirit thing? Orb? What? You didn't see the orb that was dancing with me?
Huh? Orb?
He didn't he? Erik raised an eyebrow, obviously not understanding what I had meant. Did he really not see it? It's true, there was a spirit here that looked like an orb and I was dancing with it, not by myself. What the hell? I knew it wasn't making sense. He didn't seem to believe me. Still, I didn't want to lie to him. He was going to be my husband soon, so we had to trust each other. If my reason sounded stupid, fine, but at least it was the truth. Erik finally smiled and reached towards me before petting my head.
Did you have fun then?
Wait, he really did believe me? I wasn't entirely sure if he did, but from the look he gave me, he was willing to accept my answer either way. Erik gently reached out and took one of my hands, placing his other hand on my waist. I looked up to him, seeing his lips curve into a smile, playful smirk.
Would you mind if I dance with you then, princess?
Oh, Erik. My face turned red at his question, but I smiled and nodded. I liked dancing with him. I tied my hand over Erik's, straightened up and leaned against his chest, ready to dance. Erik chuckled softly before leading me into a slow but elegant waltz around the backyard. I felt like I needed to thank the spirits later for giving me yet another wonderful memory. With Erik, he led me around the backyard as if we were at a real ball. The moon served as a brilliant crystal chandelier at the wind, and the wind became our music. Aww. Eventually, however, we had to go back inside. The night was cold and it was very late. I didn't want the night to end though. Aww, so sweet. Oh gosh. Watching Erik as we walked up the stairs to the bedroom, my heart began to flutter even more, and a soft heat began to burn in my core. He was not only charming, but he was handsome and definitely knew what buttons to press to make me feel amazing. It didn't matter that he was an incubus. I really had fallen in love with him and was both romantically and sexually attracted to him. Though, did I really want to pursue my desires right now? We did just stop dancing. The burning in my core wasn't just going to go away. As Erik and I approached our room, I quickly pulled his arm and turned him around to face me.
What?
Before he could... Hold on. There we go. Sorry about that. Before he could finish his sentence, I jumped up and wrapped my arms and legs around him, kissing him deeply. Instinctively, he circled his arms around me to support me, but he stared in shock at my eagerness. Within seconds, he melted into the kiss and panted against my lips, making me moan in reply at the sound. He tightened his grip around me as he walked backwards towards the bed. When his legs hit the side of the mattress, he sat down and allowed his hands to roam my back. I pulled away from the kiss ever so slowly, enjoying every moment that I was still connected to his lips before letting out a small sigh. I was pretty sure I had made myself clear, but I gave him a softly spoken demand. I don't want to go to bed yet. Erik stared up at me before licking his lips and slowly running his hands under my shirt and up my back. Tingles shot up my spine and his fingers ran over my bare skin, a shuddering moan escaping my lips.
As my princess commands.
Oh gosh. Oh shit. I felt Erik gently lift my shirt up, and I lifted my arms for him to fully remove it from my body before he tossed it to the side. The cool air hitting my skin made each other as Erik pulled me back in for another heated kiss. Damn his hands for memorizing my body. He knew what spots to caress, making me buck my hips against his and tighten my hold onto him. Well, when I felt his smirk against my mouth, I softly bit onto his lower lip, telling him silently not to play with me. I felt the warm sensation of his enthrallment invade my body, causing me to cuddle closer against his chest and softly grind my hips against his in need. His enthrallment was part of our foreplay, added 10 times more pleasure to our sex. I knew that he poured every ounce of his love for me into our lovemaking. Every time we had sex, it was just another confession of true love between us. It wasn't just to feed hunger and desire. It made one of many ways we showed our love to each other. It was only a benefit that he was an incubus, a natural master of sex. Every touch made oh, uh, every touch made me tremble, and every kiss on my skin made me swoon and melt in his arms. He knew how to make me moan, how to make me crave for him, how to make me shiver with I can't pronounce that for the life of me. I had been surprised to learn I was his first and his only with how talented he was. Soon it wasn't just my shirt that was removed from my body. Every article of clothing he and I wore ended up scattered throughout the room, unnoticed and uncared for. The only thing we cared about was each other and the pleasure we gave each other on our bed. We made sweet and passionate love, rocking to the rhythms of our hearts and our desire for each other. Every moan I made, he matched it in kind. Every breath I took, Erik found a way to make it heavier and hotter. My nails and fingers dug into his shoulders and back in pleasure and pure. How do you pronounce that? As he continued to drive into me over and over with his passion in love, pulling me higher and higher towards my limit. I could only tighten my legs around him, pull him to more heated kisses, moans against his lips in desire. When we both, I can't pronounce that. It was a blissful and fiery ride towards a peaceful and loving wave washing over both of our bodies. Lost in my pleasure, I could only cuddle into Erik's arms, and he wrapped them around me and pulled me against his chest. His feather-like kisses peppered over my forehead, making me smile.
Good night, my princess. I love you.
I love you too, Erik. Oh, I could only close my eyes and relish the warmth Erik gave me as I let my mind escape into dreamland. To my surprise, the child didn't return. I was a bit saddened, but I didn't let my thoughts linger on it any longer. I had a peaceful dream with Erik wrapped around me all through the remainder of the night. As the morning came, however, the other incubi essentially kidnapped their brother, despite my minor protest, knowing that we had work to do on the wedding. The brothers were relentless. Oh my god.
We're just stealing him for a bit. We'll return him later.
Okay. But we have to.
Everything will be all right. You can finish working on your dress while we keep him out of the house.
Okay. I mean, yeah, but
You could survive a day without your love slave. You're marrying him, after all. It's not like he'll be gone forever.
Sam.
Everything will be all right, princess, I promise. As soon as we're done with whatever they want to do, then I'll come straight home.
Alright. Okay, I love you. Okay. What the fudge? I could barely make out him saying I love you too as he was dragged away by his brothers. As the front door closed, I could hear Erik being thrown over someone's shoulder, probably Sam's. Yeah, probably Sam. I would not be surprised if it was Sam. I sighed before looking around the mansion. Since I was indeed alone, I had the chance to try and find that spirit again. Why had it run away the first time? I quickly rushed to the backyard, looking around it. It was much brighter, yes, but perhaps the spirit was still there. Despite not being able to find it, I scoured the entire mansion in hopes of meeting the orb again. It almost became a game of hide and seek, only I didn't know if the orb was hiding or was gone. Hang on. There we go. After a straight hour of looking around, I gave up. The orb was nowhere to be found, and I was certain I wouldn't meet it again. I could only let out a sigh at the thought, but I shook my head to forget about it at last. It had given me a moment with my love, so I was grateful. I went back into my room and flopped onto my bed, not really sure of what to do. I could have organized what I was going to wear with my dress, but I really didn't want to pull my dress out of the garment bag it was in. Staring at the ceiling, I felt my eyelids slowly getting heavy, and soon I was letting my sudden drowsiness take a hold of me. What was happening? Why did I feel like sleeping? It was close to noon, or was it past noon? I somehow couldn't remember anymore. I lulled myself to sleep, blaming the search and the wedding stress that lingered in my mind for tiring me out. My body floated in the darkness, met once again by a soft and peaceful lullaby. This nap was perfect, and I definitely deserved it. My body felt comfortable, and my thoughts were lured into a quiet hum that accompanied the lullaby in the air. The only thing that would have made it better was Erik. As if my dreams wanted to please me, an image of Erik appeared in my dream. He smiled his heart-pulling smirk at me, and I felt myself become warm and fuzzy just from his gaze as he floated over me. I became entranced in his eyes. My voice wouldn't come out, despite wanting to say his name, but I wrapped my arms around his neck and pulled him close to me. He leaned into my embrace, ghosting his lips over mine teasingly. Was Dream Erik trying to seduce me in my own dreams? Aw. I pressed forward, wanting to kiss him. We both didn't make a sound, but let our kiss rely our love for each other between our lips. My heart pounded in my chest as he wrapped his arms around my waist and pulled me even closer to him. It was strange. He felt so real in my arms. I combed my fingers through his hair, feeling the pink copper strands on top of his head. Yet this was a dream. I knew it was a dream. His arms gently ran along my back and waist, not daring to go below, but making wonderful shivers run up my spine with each stroke. I really liked this dream and tightened my hold on Erik, letting him know that I enjoyed his touch. Erik eventually pulled away from the kiss and smiled down at me, running a hand over my hair and caressing my cheek. I stared up at him lovingly, feeling a soft swell in my lips from the kiss we had shared. What I did expect was him slowly leaning down and planting a soft kiss over my chest just over where my heart was. I stared, unsure of why he did such a thing. As my heart began to feel warm and lighter, I let out a silent sigh out of my throat, feeling the pleasure of its sensation. Erik slowly backed away and disappeared, but I continued to feel the warmth over my heart sweetly emanate through my veins like a slow adrenaline rush. What was happening to me? Tingles ran across every nerve in my body, making me shiver in delight. Whatever this was, I liked it. Soon the warmth, I can't pronounce that, lured me into a peaceful hum, and I curled into myself, wrapping my arms around my body from the comfort it brought. I felt at peace while my body felt like it was embracing the warmth enveloping it. It was strange, but I accepted the restful feeling. Oh, come on! What? Oh god, I hate the Demon Lord. From the darkness, darker laughter invaded the air, breaking the lullaby and making a sudden cold feeling wash over my skin. Before I could react, however, a large and deep pain invaded in my chest, almost like a sword stabbing all the way through my body. What the hell? I could not see anything of the sort as I looked down at my chest, but my hands tightened over where the pain had erupted from. What was happening? I coughed, feeling blood splash out of my mouth and drip down my lips. I gasped for air, disgusted at the coppery taste in my mouth, but I was unable to break out the illusion. I needed to wake up. What the hell, bro? The stabbing pain ripped through my insides as if the invisible blade in my chest and I don't know how to pronounce that. Itself from my torso, and I felt second stabs through my stomach, more blood gushing from my mouth. Someone help me! I felt my body slowly start to shut down. Was I dying in my own dream? Why couldn't I wake up? Cold waves ran through my nerves, numbing my body as if I was indeed slowly dying. My blood dripped from my chin. I felt lightheaded in the darkness. But an almost violent shake broke me from my dream, forcing me to physically open my
Princess!
eyes. Hi, Erik. I gasped for air, no longer able to taste blood or feel pain. I was back in my room, staring at Erik's concerned face as he held my shoulders. I shuddered from the experience, unable to forget the feeling of being stabbed in my own dream. Erik, however, had saved me.
Love, what happened? You were thrashing around and...
Oh, man. I didn't let him finish. I grabbed Erik's body and slammed myself into his chest, happy to no longer be trapped in the dream and thankful that he woke me from it. Erik wrapped his arms around me and gently rubbed my back, soothing me as I began to cry into his shoulder.
Did you have a nightmare?
It was terrible. I was being attacked by something in the darkness. I couldn't do anything about it.
Shh. It's okay now. You're safe. I'm right here.
This game makes me cry again. Gosh. I could only nod as Erik rocked me back and forth, comforting me. It may have been a dream, but I was still mortified by it. It seemed almost too real to be just a dream. I didn't want to think about it anymore. I didn't want to remember the dream, especially how horrible it was. I was supposed to be getting mentally ready for my wedding, not having nightmares about dying. Erik kissed over my head and face, trying to soothe my sadness. He wiped away my tears and continued to hold me close until I was calm and relaxed. I tried to reassure myself that it was a dream. It was a stupid dream, just a nightmare. Erik gently pulled away, not releasing me from his arms, and looked down at me with a soft frown.
I'm sorry that I left. I should have been here, making sure that you had good dreams.
Erik. I shook my head. Erik needed to spend time with his brothers. It was important enough to him that he let himself be dragged away by them. No, it's alright. I'll be fine.
Are you sure, Princess?
Yeah, I'm sure. I had to shake this off. I didn't know what was going on, but now Erik was here and could be with me in case anything else happened. Oh, wow. After I had finally calmed down, Erik told me about what the boys had. They took Erik to the cafe deep in downtown Chicago, just wanting to have a brother-to-brothers talk with him. I was happy he got to spend time with them, but Erik had practically rushed home to return to me. The dream did not appear again that night. Erik used his powers to enter my dreams and kept me safe from anything that tried to hurt me, and thankfully nothing did. However, there was a strange feeling in my gut that didn't sit right with me for some reason. Eric's comfort didn't make me feel okay. It was as if I didn't want him to be in my dreams. Weird. My heart knew this was a problem, but I was unsure of how to respond to this new feeling. Slowly, as the days passed by and our wedding approached, the feeling became more aggressive. Soon I was becoming irritated more easily. I became angry at the smallest things. Is she pregnant or something? The steps he took, the things he'd wear, the looks he gave me, or what I assumed he gave me. No, Erik, I don't want to do anything right now.
Love, I didn't say any.
What the hell is going on? You're looking at me with those sex eyes again.
Sex eyes? I swear, I wasn't doing anything of the sort.
The hell, dude? You're doing it now. I couldn't control the words that were flying out of my mouth. Something was wrong, but I continued to speak cruelly towards Erik. Erik, I'm sorry. My heart was at odds with my mind, and I didn't know why I was doing it, but I continued my barge. Erik, I'm sorry.
Love, what is going on?
What's going on? You are what?
I'm sorry.
What the hell, dude? I felt Erik's enthrallment take over my body, forcing me to go weak in the knees and mew out in surprise. My mind stopped thinking about attacking Erik, and my heart felt entirely relieved that the urge was gone. Erik, I'm so sorry. Erik gently wrapped his arms around me, being sure to keep his arms around my shoulders and rocked with me, trying to keep me calm.
Love, are you having doubts?
No, I'm not. I don't know what
I swear you're not having doubts about us?
I promise. I was able to speak the truth under his spell. It was strange. It was like I was under a curse when I wasn't under his enthrallment, somehow despising every little thing Erik did, yet I knew it wasn't true. I loved everything about him, but my mind wouldn't agree. I gripped to Erik's shirt, wanting to stay close and show my true feelings for him.
Listen to me, okay? I love you so much. If you have any doubts on us getting married, then please just tell me. I don't know what's going on in your beautiful head.
I love you too. I really, really do. I don't know what's happening to me. It made no sense. Why did I despise it? Why did I despise Erik yet love him? My mind, heart, and body were at odds with each other, and I wasn't sure what to do. This went on all the way until our wedding day. Somehow Erik managed to deal with me the entire time, enthralling me when things became rough to keep me calm. The other incubi tried to decipher what was going on with me, but none of them could figure it out. I was going to marry Erik, and then I was going to figure out what was wrong with me. I knew I still loved him with every inch of my heart, mind, body, and soul. So feeling disdain like this was not natural for me. I had asked Erik to place me under enthrallment for our wedding in case I lashed out again. He reluctantly agreed and stayed with me the morning of our wedding day. I was supposed to dress alone and be by myself, but I needed Erik to keep me in check. Ow. I felt ridiculously warm and fuzzy. I stood in the bathroom, having come out of a hot shadow. I can't speak. Shower with Erik. We didn't do anything together, but we remained close enough to keep me enthralled and remain energized enough to maintain the enthrallment. Erik gently ran my brush through the strands of my hair, being as sweet and caring as he always was towards me. Because of the enthrallment, I felt each stroke, and I can't pronounce that. So much pleasure from his brushing, it was hard not to moan.
Well, love, today's the big day.
Yeah, I'm so happy.
I truly hope so. I'm the happiest man alive to be able to soon call you my wife.
Hmm? I want to be your wife. I want you to be my husband. I felt like crying. Why did I have to be enthralled to say such things? I really loved him, but somehow I couldn't bring myself to say it without him casting a spell over me. Erik looked at me through the bathroom mirror and gently smiled, believed in me, and placing a small kiss on my cheek.
By the way, are you using a new soap?
I like that image. Okay. Huh? I looked at Erik, unsure of what he meant. I had used the same soap I always used, so my scent shouldn't have been different. Erik tilted his head and gently inhaled again before smiling a little wider.
You smell different. I kind of like it.
I blushed not because of the environment, but because I didn't know I had a different smell. Was something that off about me? I couldn't have been that drastic. Great. Erik finished brushing my hair and smiled, kissing my head.
All right. Time for you to get into your dress. I'm afraid that I can't join in dressing you as much as I want to. Can't see the bride in her gown before the wedding. I also have to get to the ceremony venue to get my tuxedo. However, my enthrallment should stay on you until you arrive.
I tried to fight back, but Erik held up his finger.
No. I promise that everything will be okay. As soon as I see you, I'll enthrall you again, and we can go through the ceremony as planned. Okay?
Okay. As much as I wanted to fight it, I was thankful that Erik was willing to go through all of this to make sure that I wouldn't throw a fit, despite me not wanting to in the first place. I agreed and earned a small kiss from him, which I relish? Or whatever
All
you
right.
pronounce that.
I love you. I'll see you soon.
I nodded, smiling back at him before he slipped on his regular clothes and left the mansion. I felt the enthrallment on me and flow through my body, so I needed to hurry and get ready before it wore off. I got dressed in the wedding dress of my dreams and smiled as I prepared my hair and jewelry. I really did look like the perfect bride ready for her big day. Why was I acting out against it? I would never know, but I was going to fix this after saying I do. As I stared at myself, I could see a small glow about my body. Was it Erik's spell? I giggled, wrapping my arms around myself and enjoying the feel of his spell. The feel his spell had on me.
I knew it! I knew it! That girl has demon magic.
Fuck you, Demon Lord. What the?
Then quit gawking and let's take her! The Demon Lord will be so pleased.
God, I hate the Demon Lord. Screw him! Who? Before I could turn to search for the voices, I felt hands grab hold of my feet, and I looked down and lifted my dress. 2 pairs of evil-looking hands had taken hold of my ankles, reaching through a dark red and purple pentagram. I shrieked, trying to pull my legs away, but couldn't stop them as they swiftly pulled me into the ground. Oh my god. I was pulled deeper into the darkness. I was no longer in my room. I was being dragged through a dark void, one that I couldn't escape. I reached out and clawed at the dark, trying to find something to grab onto. I tried to pull my legs away from the hands that were holding them, but couldn't pull free. What was going on? Why was this happening? Someone help me! As if someone had heard my screams, I suddenly felt the hands let go and disappear, leaving me to float in the darkness and left me in. I shut my eyes. Please let this be a dream. I finally felt a surface under my feet and I collapsed onto it, my body curling in on itself from the experience I had. I didn't dare tear my eyes away from my lap, not ready to get up just yet. The voice I heard, however, made my heart stop.
You! What are you doing here?
Hi, Diana. I looked up finally, having the courage to take in my surroundings. My heart stopped beating for a moment, seizing in my chest. Hi! I looked up to see 5 figures, strangers, monsters, beings that I didn't recognize. They all looked down at me in surprise, as if I had dropped in at a very bad time. One man looked like an orc from a fantasy game without the tusks. He had broken horns and a very frightening aura around him as he stared at me. The other male was like in comparison more human-like, but I could almost feel power emanating from him regardless. One of the women who was staring at me had rabbit ears. Rabbit ears! They twitched on the top of her head as she looked at me and gripped her staff. She seemed harmless, yet she had animal ears. The one creature that I couldn't discern the sex of seemed more excited to see me than surprised. What freaked me out about them was that they had wings sticking out from their back and they were floating. The last woman, however, set off alarm bells in my head, and as I looked at her surprised face, her hair, her eyes. Diana? Hi. As she stared, the woman turned her body towards me in recognition to the name I called her. It was her.
What are you doing here?
Asked the demon lord. Diana walked towards me and stared down at me. It was odd. She didn't look like a human, yet I wasn't afraid of her demon form. As it towered over me, I was more in shock as to what was going on. Hi, Seto. Before Diana could speak further, most likely to repeat herself, a figure quickly stepped up and bowed to her, kneeling beside me.
My lady, please forgive me. I felt something moving between our worlds and assumed the Demon Lord was to blame, so I intercepted his summoning of this human.
You! So I wasn't the only one who felt the change in the air.
Right. Diana stared at the man kneeling beside me as I kept my eyes up at her. As she turned her gaze back to me, I gulped silently. What was she going to do with me? This all felt wrong. I was about to be married. I was about to live happily ever after with the man I loved. Now I was in a place I didn't know with Diana and a bunch of other creatures I didn't recognize. My instinct was to... This wasn't happening. This couldn't have been happening. No way. I felt tears build up in my eyes and I lowered them to look at the floor in front of me. As my gaze fell, my lungs began to seize hard, forcing me to hiccup in sadness. I couldn't help it. I began to cry profuse. I can't pronounce that. Why was this happening? Why was I here? If this was another nightmare, I wanted to wake up immediately. This wasn't right. I covered my face and cried into my hands, curling over myself as I let sadness run through my entire body. Please let me wake up. As I felt warmth suddenly spread through my body, I slowly stopped and felt fresh air rush into my lungs. What was happening? I recognized this warmth. I looked up to see Diana kneeling down with a very concerned look on her face, her visible eye glowing a warm gold color as she stared at me. Was she enthralling me? I didn't feel aroused like I felt usually whenever I was enthralled, but I felt calm and almost mellow.
Calm down.
Diana's voice seemed almost soothing, like a lullaby. However, I wasn't sleepy. I just felt quiet. The worry I had in my mind was gone. The sadness was gone. Diana must have done something to make sure I wouldn't cry. I didn't know whether to thank her or be afraid.
Now, can you tell me what happened? Take your time and try to remember everything.
Succubus, we
will
have
you
no
shut up?
time for...
Shh! Let her do her thing! The human obviously knows her. And she obviously needs help. Poor thing.
Sorry. Okay.
Why did she call her Diana, though?
That must have been the human name she used while she was in the human world. Smart.
All of you, please!
Yeah, all of you shut up. Silence engulfed the room as Diana looked at the four beings behind her. She then turned back to me and held out her hand, ushering me to take
Can
it.
you stand?
I nodded and took her hand, standing up at last. I looked around the other beings in the room. They all kept their gaze to me, unsure of what I would do or say. Diana, however, led the conversation.
First, can you tell me what happened to you?
I took a breath, recounting everything that had happened. I was about to go to the church to be married, and then I was attacked by this darkness. A couple of hands grabbed my legs and pulled me into it. And then I fell here.
A shadow summoning.
Diana turned to one of her beings, the lanky male, and glared.
One of yours couldn't have.
On my honor, it wasn't any of mine. We have nothing to gain from kidnapping a human.
Okay.
Nor do we know who this woman is, anyhow.
My lady, if I may, I clearly remember hearing imp demons in the void along with her. It must have been the Demon Lord's henchmen.
Those damnable creatures. That explains it.
Yeah. Diana crossed her arms and looked to me again.
Well, dear, it seems that you were to be either a new harem girl for the Demon Lord to ravish, or bait for the boys to return to their father's side. Either way, I doubt you would have lived long had the Demon Lord gotten his hands on you.
A violent shiver ran up my spine. Was it true I would have died?
Wait a minute. This girl knows about the Demon Lord's heirs?
Yes. Hilariously enough, she was set to marry one of them, as you can see from her garb.
As Diana motioned towards my dress, I realized how vulnerable I was and felt extremely self-conscious. I wrapped my arms around myself as Diana let out a sigh.
Well, since you do not belong here, the obvious thing to do is to send you home.
I couldn't help but stare wide-eyed at Diana. She was really going to send me home, really? I couldn't believe my ears. You would really send me back?
Of course. It should be easy to do once everything is in order. It'll be like you never left the human world.
Wait, like I never left the human world? What do you mean by I left the human world? Diana stared before chuckling softly and gesturing to the room and beings within it.
Dear, do you not realize where you are? You are in the demon world.
My mind went blank. I couldn't be in the demon world. No way in hell. I felt myself back up against the wall behind me, suddenly afraid I was in another world. How? That was impossible. Diana stepped towards me, both of her hands softly, trying to show me she meant no harm as she positioned them in front of her body.
Do not panic. We will send you back now, so there's nothing to worry about.
How will you power the spell? Bringing someone here is no easy task, but sending someone back consumes much more energy.
I'll use what energy I have now and rest. We can organize the siege another time when I fully recover. It's not like the Demon Lord can escape the corner we've trapped him in.
You'd waste time and energy on this human. We must strike now while the Demon Lord is weakened.
But the human doesn't belong here. She needs to go home.
Shall I prepare the return spell?
Do. I grant you permission to use my energy to power the spell.
With a nod, the lanky man held out his hand towards the wall. I looked over in the direction it was aimed at. Diana's shadow. I watched as Diana's shadow simply stood against the wall, mirroring the movements of the real succubus in the room. Before my eyes, the shadow began to morph and expand on the wall on its own. I looked back to Diana to see her wrapping her arms around herself and curling her shoulders over as if she was in pain. Her nails and I will never be able to pronounce that word. Forget it. themselves into her forearms, and I could barely make it out a painful hiss escaping her clenched teeth. Was the spell hurting her that badly? I turned back to the wall to see Diana's shadow shaking and vibrating, as if it was resisting the change the man was forcing on it.
You will obey my command. Open the gates to the void, and allow passage to the world we seek.
Transitum perennan peto tranibris. Ubi aperiut. Iano iam. Desedirum.
Oh boy. Upon Diana's Upon Diana's final word, her shadow burst and expanded into an oval-shaped doorway. I stared wide-eyed at the passage before a hand placed itself on my shoulder, forcing me to look over. The one with the spear gently pressed my shoulder forward and looking down at me with an almost stern face.
You must leave now. The faster you leave, the quicker we can close the void.
Go! Go! Go get married!
Alright. I quickly nodded and lifted the bottom of my dress, stepping forward to make a run for the passageway. However, before I could bolt towards my freedom, a snarl echoed through the room.
How dare you interfere with my summoning!
Screw you! At that very moment, Diana began to scream, arching her spine and throwing her head back. Around her body were red-tinted bolts of lightning flashing and shocking her form.
No! Human! Use the passage! Now!
He didn't have to tell me twice. I bolted towards the portal, diving forward as I neared it, but I was forced back by a burst of energy and a flash of red light. I fell to the floor, almost slamming my head into the stone. Oh, shoot.
A human will never, ever leave this world alive!
Screw you!
You spineless worm!
Close the portal! The Demon Lord might get through!
But the human...
Close it!
Fudge! As commanded, the man pulled his hand back, visually forcing his arm back behind his body, and Diana's shadow quickly began to morph back into a simple shadow. The electricity around Diana faded away, and she began to tip forward. The man with the spear dropped his weapon and caught Diana in his arms, cradling her to his body as she panted and gasped for air.
I don't sense the Demon Lord anywhere.
The worm has to scurry through the shadows to try and fight back. He'll be dead soon enough.
How is she, guard?
Diana seemed to be uninjured, but her body was twitching from the aftermath of the magical attack. Her visible eye was shut tight as she dug her fingers into the guard's jacket to cling to him. As her eye opened, I saw not a blood ruby red color, but I saw a cold and unfriendly golden color painted over her iris. Her mouth opened as she panted for air, and I could see hunger in her facial expression, but she continued to stare at the wall, not wanting to make eye contact with anyone.
There are no physical wounds, but she's been weakened. I must give her my energy so she can recover.
Oh boy. The man swiftly moved and hooked an arm underneath Diana's knees, lifting her up bridal style as she clung to his jacket, shivering. The spear that had fallen to the floor faded into black and purple mist as he quickly left the room with her in his arms. My mind, however, began to panic. I couldn't go home. Why was I being forced to stay? Damn the Demon Lord, this wasn't right.
There's an imp in the castle. That is the only way the Demon Lord could have been able to interfere.
You! Guards by the door! Hunt it down!
A pair of guards that were apparently by the door saluted the one commanding them and ran off. I felt out of place, alone, terrified as to what was gonna happen. The demon lord wanted me here and his words pounded in my mind. How was I going to get home? How would I ever be able to get home?
Hey.
I looked up to see the winged person hovering near me. Excuse me. Before they moved and sat on their knees on the stone ground beside me.
We'll get you home, okay? Diana just needs a little rest, okay?
Okay.
She needs more than rest. She needs to use a different spell to send her back. The Demon Lord will expect her to use the shadow spell again.
How about the normal way? I'm sure we can connect to a witch, or even the warlock she used before, to reopen a portal to the human world.
The warlock she used to get to the human world died, remember? And he was the most powerful warlock in the human world, practically a god himself. What other human could be used to open a portal without another human dying?
It was merely a suggestion. The faster we get this human home, the faster we can move on and finish off the Demon Lord.
Well, what are we going to do with the human now?
We can give her a room to rest in. Humans need sleep after all.
Right.
Maybe by the time she wakes up, we'll think of a solution.
Hopefully.
Come.
The woman with rabbit ears looked down at me and lowered her hand to me and invited me to take it. She had a kind but concerned expression on her face, so I trusted her. I slowly took her hand and began to stand up as the fairy figure brushed off the small patches of dust that had accumulated on my dress. I couldn't do anything. I was forced to listen to the beings around me because there was nothing else I could do. Without them, I couldn't get home. My heart ached, but I had to accept my predicament.
Here, I'll bring you to the open ambassador's room. You are free to rest there for now.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. What about Diana? The floating person giggled softly as the woman with rabbit ears cleared her throat.
She'll be fine. She's being taken care of right now.
Why not just say she's getting fucked?
And the brute strikes again with the lack of tasteful filtering between his brain and his mouth. You still have yet to prove me wrong about my expectations of you.
Keep testing me, assassin. I'm not afraid to rip your spine out of your body and use it as a back scratcher.
You can very well try, brute.
Yeah, I'd like to see you try, you idiot.
Ugh! Would you both knock it off?
Come, everything will be taken care of.
Before I can protest, the woman led me out of the room and into the hall. I kept my eyes down, trying to take in more of the situation I was in. I was trapped in the demon world and Diana was out of commission. The demon lord had plans for me, but what exactly was he aiming for? I could have been bait. I could have been revenge. I didn't know, nor could I figure it out now. At least I was safe. At least I hoped I was safe. The woman led me to a room that practically screamed medieval fantasy. Everything was clean, but it still had that old age feel, as if no one had ever stepped foot in the room until that moment.
Rest here for now. When Diana is well again, we can discuss what to do.
Alright. Thank you. I nodded to the woman before she gently curtsied and left. Closing the door behind her, I took a moment to observe my surroundings, interested in understanding the aesthetic. This was fantasy turned into reality. It was like I had gone back in time. Why, though? Was the demon world really that behind in the times, or did magic supercade technology and this was the result? Despite the situation I was in, which was beyond heartbreaking and terrible, my curiosity began to fester in my mind as if I was given a golden opportunity to learn something new. However, my thoughts began to drift and I felt myself becoming weak and dizzy, no doubt. From the shock and trauma I had gone through, I stumbled towards the bed, needing to sit down and let everything settle in without passing out. As my rear hit the mattress, however, I let out a small pleasant sigh. Holy crap, this is a comfy mattress. I felt myself fall back and my entire body simply melted into the softness beneath my body. It was like I was sleeping on a cloud. Was that possible? Demon magic may have had something to do with it, but I was certain that I was drifting into an almost blissful sleep, just by lying on the blankets and mattress. Not caring that I was still in my dress, I closed my eyes and drifted to sleep, but I needed to rest since Diana wouldn't be available for a while anyway. Darkness surrounded my mind. My dreams remained silent and hushed in the cool and calm black. No nightmares appeared and no sounds were made. I was simply resting, and that was all my body needed. I let my thoughts wander in my subconscious, thinking about what was going to happen now. What will the boys do when they realize I'm gone? What will he do? I imagined him finding a way through to the demon world and pulling me back into where I belonged, wrapping me in his arms and swearing to never let me go. I would be relieved that we would be married just as we planned. How How unrealistic was that? I had to be realistic now. I was stuck in the only one who seemed to be able to send me back was Diana and her companions, whoever they were. I had to trust him whether I liked it or not. Eventually I did rise from my sleep, somehow fully refreshed and calm. How could that have been?
Did you have a good rest?
I turned my head to see Diana at the door, arms crossed and leaning against the door's archway. She had a look of concern and pure curiosity on her face as she awaited my answer. Are you okay? Diana stared at me, slightly shocked. Did she not expect me to ask?
Well, yes, I'm fine now that I've had proper rest.
That's good. Diana shook her head and stepped into the room, closing the door behind her.
So we need to find another way to get you back to the human world. It won't be easy, but I believe it can be done by tonight at the latest.
Tonight? Really? Diana nodded and crossed her arms again, leaning on one hip.
It will take time to get our shadow agents to gather the necessary supplies, but they are not hard to obtain, being that we're in a position of power. You must be lucky.
What do you mean? Diana sighed before casting a short spell. Under her breath. In front of me appeared a floating map, almost like a hologram. It showed an entire world with mountains, plains, and forests, and it all was surrounded by sea and water. Diana pointed at a marker that had a purple banner in its tip. It was marked in the center of some mountains and forest area. It was also the very center of the map.
That is where we are currently, the center of the Abyssal Plains.
Okay. Diana then ran her fingers in a circle around the marker, showing a perimeter around it.
Everything we need for the spell is within this area. It will just take time to gather the materials and prepare it.
Okay. I nodded, understanding the situation. I was going to hopefully be able to go home tonight, which is better than not going home at all. So what should I do until then?
My suggestion? Stay in this room. I can mark this room as off-limits so that no demon may enter that would confuse you for an intruder and kill you.
Okay. I gulped. I did not want to die. As Diana made the magical map disappear, she shrugged.
However, I cannot stop you from whatever you wish to do. Just don't leave the castle.
I won't. I nodded as she turned to leave. As she stepped out, and Diana looked back to me with a reassuring look.
We'll get you back to the human world. I promise you that.
I know. Finally, she left me alone in the room. I let out a small sigh and looked up at the ceiling. I had to wait until tonight to actually do anything. What was I going to do? Part of me agreed with Diana's suggestion to stay in the room and be safe. In case the guards didn't know who I was, they would kill me on sight. My curiosity, however, wouldn't let me alone and wanted me to explore the castle. I was handed an opportunity opportunity to explore a castle in the demon world, and a part of me did not want it to go to waste. I was torn on what to do. There was no way I was letting this chance pass me by. I stood and walked towards the door, opening it a crack and looking around. There was no one in the hall, but there were two directions to go to. Which way? I went with right. I closed the door behind me as as I exited the room and began to make my way down the right corridor. Everything was definitely medieval style, and I felt a bit small in the hall. It was like I was in a fairy tale walking around in my wedding dress. It felt almost dreamlike. The passage seemed long, decorated with wall candles, paintings, and random curtains and flowers. It was mystical to see, and I smiled. As I approached another fork in the hall, however, I sighed. Really, how does anyone find their way around, right? I looked back, knowing I hadn't walked far from my room. I could turn back, yet I was heading right, so I decided to try the opposite direction this time around. I turned left and headed down the hall, greeted by more fantastical decor. The hallways began to almost drive me nuts. I found myself going upstairs and downstairs and wound up in the four-way corridor. Where have I landed myself? I became frustrated. Maybe giving in to my curiosity was a bad idea. However, the sound of an argument traveled through the air and caught my attention.
And you brought me this why?
Sir, the Rebel Queen demanded it be brought here along with the other materials.
A flower is not important to the ritual. Throw it away or something.
But, sir...
I don't want to hear it! Get out!
From a nearby door, a man dressed in a dark cloak holding white lily-like flower practically ran out. He left the door ajar, but let out a sigh before turning to walk away, not noticing me. What the? I walked over and peeked in, seeing that the room was a library. It was huge, and in the middle of it, by a table covered in books, was the lanky man who cast the shadow spell before.
I know you are there, human.
Huh? How did he know? What? Was he able to smell me or something? The man turned to look at me from over his shoulder.
Please don't just stand there. If you wish to come in, then come in. I'm not fond of people peeking into doorways.
Immediately, I stepped into the room, not wanting to be rude. The man turned towards me and crossed his arms, taking in my full form.
Well, what may I help you with?
Huh? Oh, I was just wandering around. I didn't mean to intrude on anything.
You needn't. You'll be returned to the human world soon enough.
I bit my lip. He was right. I really didn't need to wander around if I was never going to return. Still, my curiosity was pulling me to explore the castle, and there I was in the library. Well, I simply wanted to see more of the place I happened to land in.
I see. And have you found anything of interest in your little exploration?
I found this library, didn't I?
That you have.
The man turned back to the table as I took a moment to look around. There were so many books, it was almost dizzying to peer at them all. How much information was stored there? The man glanced at me as he continued to work on whatever he was focusing on.
I'm curious about something.
What's
human.
up?
Since you're here, you can answer this.
I turned back to the man as he straightened up and faced me once again.
Are you well versed in war?
No. Excuse me? That came out of nowhere. Why would he expect a woman in a wedding dress to know about war? No, I can't say that I am. Humans tend to try and stay out of war.
Truly? I'm surprised. I've heard that your world is ruled by multiple leaders and beliefs. How are you not constantly at war?
From the tone of his voice, it almost sounded like he was mocking me. Did he really think that little of humans? I glared. We try to maintain peace because we all know we're different. We don't always agree on things, but We all mostly agreed that war is bad, so we just avoid it. Excuse me. The man took one more look up and down my form, most likely searching for some physical sign that I was lying or exaggerating. When he seemed to notice that I wasn't, he rubbed his chin gently as he leaned back against the table behind him.
Humans are such interesting creatures. You have your own societies and countries, ruled by presidents and governments. You are ununited, and yet you thrive. I wonder if the demon world can benefit from such a seemingly ignorant agreement.
Was he being serious right now? Why was he being stuck up? I crossed my arms glaring harder at him. Wow, I can't read. Why does it matter to you what the human world does? You're a demon. Things we do there don't affect anything here.
Ah, but that is where you are mistaken.
How so? The man walked around the table and gestured to the books and maps that had covered its surface.
When fighting a war, you need to look at all of the details to try and find the most efficient ways to bring your enemy down. When resolving it, you must be able to not only bring peace, but you must also know how to manage the land you have conquered in the aftermath.
Okay. I looked at the map to see multiple routes and ideas plastered over the parchment. Was he seriously doing this much research for this war? However, the man simply crossed his arms.
Unfortunately, I suppose that research on the human world would be for naught. We are two different worlds, after all. Yours is built on steel and electricity, while our world is flooded with magic and stone.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Why was he even talking to me at this rate? The man smirked at the agitated look on my face and chuckled. What's so funny?
I guess it's also true that humans are easily angered. Your expression gives you away so easily.
I growled before turning my heels and leaving the library. Rude ass. I was better off in my room. Oh my gosh. I remained in my room until the night came. I was given food which looked like soup. The woman who gave it to me apologized, letting me know that food was scarce until the upcoming harvest, which was a couple of days away. Being that I was only staying once a day, I didn't mind much. I was more concerned over what I was given to eat. It was some sort of stew with mysterious chunks swimming in its broth. It smelled surprisingly good, but who knew how it tasted? Yeah, who knew? I gulped. I had to try it. I had to eat it. I hadn't eaten in 2 days, even before I came to the demon world. I was pretty certain Diana wouldn't poison me now. She wouldn't. And I was fairly sure that she wouldn't serve me anything disgusting. Looks pretty disgusting to me. No offense. I lifted the spoon that was sitting in the broth, letting it capture some of the stew as it rose. I mean, it wasn't terribly scary to look at. I gulped and slowly brought the spoon to my lips, feeling the heat emanate from the stew. A knock rapped on my door, breaking me out of my train of thoughts. Come in. The door opened to reveal Diana with a plate holding things I recognized, bread and cheese. I let out a heavy sigh of relief before Diana laughed.
I suggest not trying that. As good as it smells, the taste would not sit well with you.
Alright. Instantly, I moved the bowl to a nearby table, thankful that I did not have to try it. Diana handed me the plate and nodded, reassuring me that what was on it was indeed what it seemed.
It's not much, but it's human food. Eat up.
I will. I began to chow down, feeling the hunger in my stomach despite I can't pronounce that for the life of me. With each bite and swallow, the food I was eating surprisingly was delicious. As I began to crave something to drink, Diana chuckled and formed a small goblet in her in her hand filled with clear liquid that I assumed to be water. I took it and drank it down, feeling my thirst quenched before I let out a sigh. Oh, I feel so much better.
I can tell. Take a moment to finish eating. Then we'll head for the ritual.
Alright. I looked up at Diana, suddenly excited that everything was prepared for. Was it possible to go home now? As if she read my mind, she smiled and nodded.
We finished the main preparations. We just need to head over and we'll start.
Alright. I couldn't continue eating. My mind went into an obsession frenzy of wanting to go home. I stood up, moving the plate and goblet to the nearby table. Let's go.
Huh? Are you sure?
I nodded, not wanting to waste any more time. I needed to go home, and I was tired of waiting. Diana stared before nodding and heading for the door, opening it for me and exiting after me. As she closed the door behind her, I began to feel my heart flutter in relieved joy. I was heading home. Diana led me down the corridor to the wardroom where I had originally arrived to reveal the table covered in plants and artifacts of different kinds. None of it made sense to me, but I had to only assume it was what needed for the spell to work. Diana walked to the table and took note of what she saw, nodding.
This should work.
You're in doubt?
Have to be after the last time we tried sending her home.
Right.
No.
Oh.
You're on your own.
You're in doubt?
Have to be after the last time we tried sending her home. Do we have a human anchor?
No. You're on your own this time. But we'll make sure you survive casting it.
This spell should work, however, because we'll be using energy material. It will only require a slice of your energy on top of these items, which your guard can refill immediately after this.
Just make sure you don't die casting it.
Diana smiled at her guard before turning to me.
So, are you ready to return home?
She didn't have to ask. I'm ready. Diana nodded once more before turning back to the table. She lifted her arms over the surface and lowered her head, muttering under her breath.
O tenebris portas, apriat nobis, largiatur exidium, desiderium.
As she spoke, the table began to glow, as did she. A dark purple aura began to surround her form as she lifted and arched her head back, staring at the ceiling. A glimpse at her eyes made me gasp. Warm golden orbs covered her blood-red irises. Glowing with magic, she was deep within the spell, and I could see it slowly draw energy from her body. The items on the table began to gleam wildly, light orbs floating from them and dancing in the air above the table's surface. They began to wave back and forth with each other, almost as if the lights were dancing to a silent tune. The other demons stepped back as Diana moved her arms up and pointed to the dancing lights. Her finger pointed into the air, leading the lights to follow where it directed obediently. She drew a large circle in the air, and the lights followed like a perfect trail, whatever. Spreading out and forming a large void in the air. As they finally stopped moving, they burst into a bright light, causing the demons and I to cover our eyes from it. It engulfed the room but died down just as fast, revealing a small tear in the air. Diana quickly leaned forward and dug her hands into it before pulling the tear apart, revealing my bedroom. Diana continued to pull the tear open, giving enough space for me to jump through.
Hurry and go through! This is your chance!
Don't have to ask me twice! I wasn't going to let it go to waste. I gripped the bottom of my dress and rushed forward, using momentum to jump into the air and forward towards the void. I could almost reach it. I could feel the air conditioning in my room right at my fingertips.
She will never leave this world alive!
Oh, screw you. The Demon Lord's voice rang through the air just as I saw my fingertips pass through the tear. What stopped the rest of my body was a red light and force, forcing me and Diana back from the opening. Ugh! I felt my body fly backwards and slam into the wall before I landed on the stone ground. I heard Diana as well land beside me with a painful thud. I looked up and felt my heart break as the tear became wrapped in red lightning, zipping itself closed and vanishing in the air. No, this cannot be!
Damn it!
That should have worked! How could it have failed?
We must have missed something.
Or
Was there
cursed.
anything we had forgotten?
No, I verified everything myself.
Then why was the Demon Lord able to overpower a gate spell?
I highly doubt you know either, brute.
Right.
Stop fighting! We need to make a plan and all of you are just being stupid! Stupid!
Are you all right, Isaiah?
I'm fine.
I was lost in my mind to fully understand what was going on around me. I was so close, I felt the other side. I had almost made it home. Why couldn't I go home? Diana's grunt of pain next to me made me shoot my head towards her, and I watched her slowly push herself off of the ground and glare at the table.
The Demon Lord must have done something more than simply bring her here.
What could he have done?
The Demon Lord is incapable of doing anything of the sort. His lackey imps must have done something to her.
A spell?
A curse.
I looked to the rabbit woman, seeing her stare wide-eyed at me. The other demons stared at me as well, and suddenly I felt like I was on display. Was something wrong with me?
She will not leave the demon world alive. He must have placed some sort of curse on her to prevent her from leaving this plane. In order to leave, she'd have to die.
Damn. What? My mind went blank. Did the Demon Lord really curse me? Was I forced to stay in this world until I died? I could never go back?
Are you suggesting a barrier curse?
That would explain the red energy that sealed the tear.
But dark magic like that requires
The blood of 1,000 demons.
Yeah.
He must have sacrificed part of his army to cast a curse on her that would prevent her from leaving.
The Demon Lord is that desperate for her.
The only way to break that kind of curse is to kill the caster, the Demon Lord himself.
She's trapped here until this war is over.
My body began to shiver violently. The Demon Lord killed 1,000 demons just to trap me here? Why? I slammed my fist into the ground and began to scream. I hate the Demon Lord so bad. I could feel the sympathy and anger in the room, but I didn't care. I was beyond livid. I was far past broken. I was seeing red. Ugh! As my voice ripped through the air, a bright light erupted through the room once again. Everyone covered their eyes, but Diana quickly scrambled to get on her knees and covered me with her body. She held me tightly as the light invaded the space and slowly began to fade. As the light finally died, everyone moved their hands to see what had happened. In the air was a white tear that was slowly opening, facing down towards the table. Something was coming. The Incubi Brothers. I could feel it in the air. The guard summoned his spear and pointed it at the tear, glaring at it and gritting his teeth.
Something's coming!
In reply, Diana summoned what looked like a saber and placed it in front of us.
Ready yourselves! It could be the Demon Lord!
Nope. The other demons in the room readied themselves and stared at the tear, either holding a weapon or preparing a spell. I felt the air change, becoming heavier as the tear began to grow. The energy around it began to pulsate, making everyone in the room that much more tense. I stared at the tear as well, frightened as to what was coming. Was it the Demon Lord, his minions? My mind began to cycle through fearful ideas of what was about to appear. My heart almost dropped. Falling from the tear, landing on the table were the 5 Incubi Brothers. They were piled on top of one another, having come through one at a time. However, for as the last brother landed, the boys fell to one side, toppling off of the table and landing on the floor. The rebels around me stared at the fallen pile of incubi, confused and surprised as the tear in the air closed. The ogre man was the first to lower his sword.
What the hell?
Who are they?
Careful, they could be the Demon Lord's men.
No, they're not. No! The rebels looked at me and I stood up. Diana followed and still protecting me, and I stared at the boys on the ground. They all looked dazed and a bit shell-shocked from the having fallen twice in rapid succession. I almost couldn't believe it. They were there. They were right in front of me. And my mind couldn't help but remember how I had first met them. They had all been on the floor of my mansion, unconscious and wounded. Now they were here in front of me in the demon world. I know them. Hey. I stared at the one I was meant to marry, seeing him slowly shake his head and rise from the ground. They came to rescue me. He came to rescue me. My heart became overjoyed and full of warmth and happiness. I was going to go home. The question was, how? As the sight of the boys kept the demon's attention, a second tear opened above them, causing everyone to look up. 4 women dropped down from the tear and somehow managed to fall into the arms of the incubi behind Erik.
Whoa!
I gotcha!
Whoa! Are you okay? I gotcha! It's okay!
James!
Whoa! Are you alright?
I stared wide-eyed. Their wives came too. I watched as the boys and the girls finally planted themselves on the ground before looking around as Erik spotted me. However, he began to rush towards me.
Princess!
I wanted to rush back to him. I wanted to run over and wrap my arms around his neck. I missed the touch of his lips, his embrace, yet my body would not allow me to move forward. In fact, I shied away and hid behind Diana, gripping her waist and averting my eyes from him.
What the?
Still?
I shut my eyes despite my heart screaming at me and turned towards Erik. I knew that he would enthrall me to break this hold on me, so I wanted to look at him and let him. However, my body continued to duck behind Diana's body, avoiding Erik's gaze. As I heard Erik step forward, Diana wrapped an arm back around her and placed it on my back. For some reason, I felt comforted by her touch. Was she casting a spell on me?
Diana, if you please.
Not until you explain what is going on. Why does she hide from you?
I assure you, it's not what you think.
I will not repeat my question.
I felt Diana's hand clench over my back. I felt a natural elation wash over me at the protection she was providing me, but my heart cried out for Erik.
She does want to see Erik. Something's stopping her from doing that.
And I'm supposed to believe this?
Please, just let me.
What the fudge? I watched from behind Diana as her guard quickly stepped forward and placed himself between Diana and Erik, spear pointing at my incubus.
I suggest not taking another step forward.
Oh, Seto.
Wait!
The rabbit-eared woman in the midst of the tension quickly rushed over to me and bent over to look at me directly in the eyes. I looked at her, trying to convey my need to see Erik through my eyes.
Hold still, okay?
What are you?
Ostende mihi kotum.
What? The hell? Staring into the woman's eyes, I watched as a warm gold hue painted over her sweetly pale blue eyes. Before she closed them, as if something had been unlocked, a large click resonated through my mind. All at once, I felt my will take control, and I stood up straight, now finally able to do what I desired without any resistance.
Love.
Erik. Oh. I quickly ran around Diana and rushed towards Erik, wrapping an arm around his neck and feeling him envelop me in his own arms. His warm embrace made my heart squeeze in my chest as I held him close to me. I smiled as Erik kissed over my cheeks, his embrace conveying how beyond happy he was to have me back willingly in his arms. I tied my arms around Erik and tilted my head to kiss him. My heart fluttered at the touch and taste of his lips against mine. He eagerly kissed me back, tightening his own hold on me lovingly. Diana turned to the rabbit-eared woman with a look of pure confusion on her face.
What? Just...
She's under some sort of secondary spell. Repulsion, it seems. What I cast on her was an emotional release spell, and that temporarily removed the hold on her.
But she's been here a full day, and none of us felt any sort of hold on her.
Well, we didn't exactly figure out that she was cursed either.
Cursed?
Yeah. Yeah, about that, Erik. Oh boy. I felt Erik's hold on me tighten as I looked up at his face. He looked to Diana with an expression full of concern and confusion. As I heard Diana sigh, I turned slightly to watch her cross her arms.
Yes. She's been cursed by the Demon Lord. She cannot leave until she dies or until we kill him.
The Incubi looked at each other in surprise, but Erik kept his eyes to Diana and kept me tight in his embrace.
I'm assuming you plan to kill the Demon Lord, right? When will this happen?
Yes, in 1 week's time.
1 week?
Where is this number coming from, Succubus?
We need to fully prepare ourselves for the final stage, which I'm certain will only take a couple of days. We've pinned him into a corner. The Demon Lord will fall.
That's rather bold to assume.
Right.
She's right, though. We can prepare everything in that time frame, right?
And if he does the same and attacks us before then?
He won't.
I watched as Diana walked over and cleared the table of the materials they had gathered for the gate spell, revealing a physical map of the Abyssal Plains. She pointed to the spot of the map, a peninsula surrounded by water labeled as the Decaying Sea.
We'll cast a barrier spell along the edge of the peninsula and around the castle. He and his army won't be able to move from that spot until we break it ourselves, which will be during the siege.
Where would we get the energy needed for that kind of spell?
We won't be using energy.
The other rebel demons in the room suddenly tensed up, staring at Diana in surprise. What was she going to do?
My lady, you're not suggesting...
The Demon Lord has shown how far he is willing to go to win this war. It's only fitting to show the extent we'll go to in response.
Fair.
As much as I agree with you, this seems a little rash.
What are you guys talking about?
Are they allowed to know?
I plan to put a barrier curse around the Demon Lord's castle and army. It's temporary, so it won't need the blood of 1,000 demons. But it will need the sacrifice of at least 1 demon life.
And I assume you'll be sacrificing one of my soldiers.
Yep.
Is this our only option?
There are other options, but they will most likely take a lot of energy to pull off.
It just depends on what we want to do. If we want to do this immediately, then the barrier curse is indeed the best option.
I'm not opposed to performing the curse. As rash as it is, it will make our lives easier in the long run.
You expect me to hand over one of my men?
Well, what other choice do we have,
My
dude?
soldiers joined the rebellion to kill the Demon Lord, not to get their throats slit before even seeing the final battle?
It's wrong, but can we really afford to spend any more energy? Diana already spent a lot trying to send the human back.
What is the other option?
The rabbit woman and the fairy moved towards the map and pointed at the Basilia.
We could form tall rock walls around the castle. Box him in.
It will take a lot of our energy, but we can recover in that week period.
And what will stop the Demon Lord from tearing down the walls?
I can imbue the walls with holy magic.
The Incubi and I looked at him, all of us equally surprised. The demon with holy magic? How?
How the fuck did you get holy magic? You look and smell like a demon.
The guard held up his wrapped hand, letting the beads around it jingle with a sudden motion.
I've had the ability to use holy magic ever since I was taken in by my lady's family. There's no doubt that I am a demon, but I can't recall how I gained this ability.
How is holy magic different than demon magic?
It's white magic. Unlike demon magic, holy magic isn't so finicky. Think of it as warding or dispelling magic. You can't bless air or anything that doesn't have physical form.
Okay.
But you can bless objects to fight back against other forms of magic.
If the walls were blessed with holy magic, the Demon Lord wouldn't be able to escape until we released him.
Why not just trap him forever?
That's idiotic. He would still be a threat regardless. Holy magic doesn't last forever, and stone will crumble eventually.
He's right. We wouldn't be able to keep the walls up forever.
The situation became more and more complicated the more we discussed it. How were we going to go about this?
We can't just sit around and debate this forever. The longer we wait, the more we risk him striking back at us.
But is it worth killing someone to trap him?
When we finally strike, we will lose hundreds, if not thousands, of soldiers anyway. What difference will it make to lose one more life on top of this?
Soulless fuck.
Oh, shut up.
We can still cage him in.
I bit my lip. It was a really tough decision, a curse or a trap, which was better. Both had their prices, but we had to choose one. But from the look of it, no one wanted to speak up, so I felt the urge to say something. Maybe I would be the one. Maybe I would be the one who would determine everything. But which method would be the best choice? Everyone in the room looked at me as I finally spoke up. We needed to be better than the Demon Lord. He was willing to sacrifice lives to trap me here, but it only showed how desperate he was to win and how little he valued life. He would lose this war one way or another. It wasn't worth losing someone who would help turn the tide of war. When can you put a berry up?
We can leave after this, meeting is over.
Are you sure this is the best choice?
The curse isn't the only option. We need to show that we're better than him. Everyone nodded, some in reluctance, while the others did with confidence. I looked at Diana just in time to catch a twitch from her visible eye, but she shook her head and looked to the rabbit woman.
Are you quite positive this will work?
I am very certain. Since it will be just 3 of us going, we can shadow travel there and be back by the morning.
Diana looked at her guard and nodded.
Very well. If you believe it will work, then I trust you will make sure it does.
As the guard nodded and slightly bowed, the other demons seemed to let out a sigh of relief. Were they worried about performing the curse? Diana shook her head before crossing her arms and looking directly at me.
So, since you'll be here for a while, we might as well give you names that you can use to refer to everyone here.
Alright.
Are we getting human names?
Must we?
Diana rolled her eyes and gestured to each demon, naming them on the fly.
For the sake of time, we'll use simple names. This is Rabbit, our magic advisor. Sergeant, commander of our armies. Shadow, leader of our assassins. And Faye, our nomadic force ambassador.
Alright.
Sergeant, I'm a commander, succubus. Shouldn't my name be Commander?
It's easier on the tongue, though, to say Sergeant.
Right.
My lady, what shall they call me?
Diana looked to settle for a moment before turning towards me until a look of seriousness emanating from her eyes.
You may call him Cero. He is my personal guard, and he is always by my side.
The other demons in Cero seemed to be surprised. Was Cero his true demon name? Why would she give me his true name?
Are you sure?
Call him only if your life depends on it. Do not abuse this permission.
Alright. Her eyes seemed to burn as she gazed into mine, full of hard intent and warning. I mentally noted her seriousness as she ran a hand through her hair.
Well, now that we have a plan and introductions are out of the way, I believe we can end this meeting. We have a lot to accomplish in 1 week.
Right.
What about us? You don't expect us to sit around.
Actually, I do. You all don't belong on the battlefield.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Huh?
I will not take untrained and unarmed beings into a war zone.
Hold on. I interjected, stepping forward and crossing my arms at Diana. She seriously wasn't going to make us stay back while she fought the Demon Lord, was she? I think we can fight too. Diana squinted at me, pressing her lips together into a fine line. However, I meant what I said, we can fight too.
You expect me to trust that you can fight in a war?
Let me and my brothers train then. We're demons, for fuck's sake. We know how to fight.
The boy stared at Diana as she turned her head towards Sam. He was right, though. They knew how to train, so they knew how to fight. If they fought with the rebellion, there would be a better chance of winning this war.
You all realize this is a war, correct? You can die here.
We understand completely.
Right.
We understand, Diana.
Diana could only stare at the group as we challenged our proclamation. I have no idea if I pronounced that right. I wrapped my hand around my fiance's arm, frightened at the idea of participating in the war, but knowing that we all needed the strength we could muster to finish off the Demon Lords, this was the only way that I could go home. Defeated, Diana sighed and rubbed her temples.
Very well. I can't exactly keep you here like prisoners, so it will be up to you if you choose to train for battle. However, I highly suggest just staying here and allowing us to handle it.
We understand. I nodded, as did the others. This was really happening. We were going to kill the Demon Lord, and we had 1 week to either prepare for the war or wait it out. Diana turned towards me and looked down at my outfit. I had nearly forgotten that I was still in my wedding dress until Diana pointed at my chest.
Lumen infere, bellum tabescere, serene.
I stared at her, unsure of why she was speaking in Latin, until I felt the fabric around my body shift and change. I quickly looked down to see my wedding dress morph into an outfit that looked perfect for the demon world. Wish we could see the outfit. The white top shifted into a long-sleeved, oversized tunic with a leather corset and vest, while the bottom part of the gown split and wrapped around my legs, forming into dark leggings. My shoes stretched into long, high-knee boots.
Wow. Very nice outfit.
I blushed, getting used to the feel of the outfit. The corset wasn't tight, but it was still something new along with the rest of the garb. Erik, however, smiled down at me and kissed my forehead.
You look wonderful, princess.
Thank you.
Faye, Rabbit, you both should finish your preparations and head over to the Demon Lord's castle for the spell.
How are you going to get there?
I'll get us there, no problem. Just make sure we don't get stuck there or lost.
Right.
No promises.
Zero, make sure the job is done.
I shall, my lady.
Seto, Faye, and Rabbit began to make their way out of the rooms as Diana turned to me and my group. As they left, Diana let out a small sigh.
I will take you to some rooms you may rest in.
Thank you, Diana. Diana merely nodded and led our group out of the room towards our temporary rooms. I felt insanely nervous. This entire situation was beyond my imagination. Stuck in a demon world under 2 kinds of enchantments. That was unreal even for me. Still, we were going to Still, we were going to work towards finishing this war and getting me home. We had to do everything we can to keep our focus straight. As Erik and I were escorted, I can't read for the life of me. As Erik and I were okay, forget it, I can't say that word. To our room, I felt the need to cling to Erik's arms. It had been only a day since I had been taken away from the human world, but for the longest time I had to be enthralled to get close to him. Now I was freely and willingly able to hold onto Erik's arm. Aww. I couldn't help it. I needed to feel closer to him after all of this time. Being separated was not something any bride wanted from their soon-to-be partner. I wrapped an arm around Erik's arms, hearing him chuckle and lay his free hand over my arm lovingly. Aw, Erik, I love you.
You know, I wanted to walk down the aisle with you as your husband. I was so worried when you didn't show up to the ceremony.
Aw. My heart sank and I looked down. I hadn't wanted to leave him at the altar, but the Demon Lord had other plans. The Demon Lord is a dick. I gritted my teeth before feeling Erik's lips on my temple caused me to look back up at him.
I know it wasn't your doing, love. Don't be upset. You weren't gone long.
Not gone long. I had been in the Abyssal Plains for a full day. How was that not long? How long was I missing for? Erik rubbed his neck and looked away, blush forming on his cheeks.
Around 5 hours.
Yikes. 5 hours? I was here a full day. How does that work?
Well, time runs differently here than it does in the human world. In the time it takes for an hour to go by in the human world, 5 go by here in the demon world.
My mind spun slightly at the idea time moved differently here. I shook my head and let it go. At least I wasn't gone for long in the human world. What happened when you found out that I was missing?
Well, your father was demanding that Sam open a missing persons investigation since he's a police officer. Luckily, James was able to calm everyone down and, with Iridesce's energy, he blocked everyone's memory and told them to return home and the real wedding would begin later.
Okay. James can do that?
Only with his wife's help. That gave us time to try to locate you. When we did, we all decided to come through to get you back.
Interesting. I could only imagine what it had been like, all of them huddled in the room trying to find me. I felt a little flattered, but I knew that it was because they all cared about me, the wives included. I was happy that they did and that I was back with Erik at last. Aww. Alright, hang on. I'm actually thinking of ending this stream here. So let me see who I can raid. Shit. Alright, let's go raid Katie. I'm going to end my stream here, and I hope they all have enjoyed. We will continue Erik's route soon, maybe tomorrow. And let's see. Looks like she just started her stream too, so we're gonna raid Katie. So I hope that you all have enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.